let's just grind and do it. And things weren't selling. We did a ton of rentals and we just grew out of it. So every year our revenue from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 was going up. We looked back on it. We didn't realize it at the time and we weren't tracking it as much during those years. 4 or 5 years later, we're like, wow, we did really well, but we just didn't know any better. We're just grinding. Well, it doesn't matter. We didn't make enough that year. We didn't do enough. We haven't sold enough. We don't have enough clients. So we were just like so hungry for success that we just were kind of had blinders on.
Yeah. The other thing, like New York is just one of these places that if you don't keep up with the pace, like you just get left behind.
Welcome to the Early Podcast, where I interview the builders behind the world's most iconic companies. I'm Max Crowley. I was Uber's 25th employee and spent years scaling one of this generation's wildest rides. Each week, I sit down with the early innovators who really made it all happen. So please, tune in, like the show, subscribe, tell your friends, keep coming back. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Mark Jovanovic, and I'm one of the founding agents at Urban Compass, now Compass.
Hi, I'm Scott Hustis, one of the founding agents at Urban Compass, which today is Compass.
Mark, Scott, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, excited to be here.
This is the first three-way conversation, so pretty pumped about it.
Yeah.
Cool, exciting.
So you guys are some of the founding real estate agents from Compass, which was Urban Compass at the time that you joined, and have helped turn it into the massive company that it is today.
Yeah, pretty much. It's been a wild ride, almost 11 years now.
Yeah,
11 years. Good times.
For sure. All right, but I'm going to start at the beginning of your lives. So, Scott, you are from north of New York, upstate, Hudson Valley. You grew up mowing lawns and...
grew up in the Hudson Valley. My dad was a land surveyor and developer. Spent the summers down in the shore and went to college in Virginia. And spent some time down south working for a national developer, and then made my way back to New York City to get into residential real estate.
Did you develop an entrepreneurial bug early on, it seems like? Where did that come from?
From my family. Always had jobs when I was young, working my way into restaurants at 12 when you're supposed to be 13 or 14. Had multiple jobs, always had the side hustle. When I went to college, I had money saved up and was excited, and then every summer worked my way through and was fortunate enough my parents took care of college, but always was working. And then through college, started getting internships and took it on from there.
Love it. And Mark, you grew up in San Diego. We'll bounce around. We'll do the question thing and see where we see how it flows. You're like waiting for the next answer. You're like, hey, I'm into this. You're first generation American.
Yep.
In San Diego.
Yep.
Parents are from Serbia.
Yep.
San Diego's not like Serbia, no. I imagine. I've not been to Serbia, but I've been to San Diego a few times. What do you think that like instilled on you? Because you've got sort of this culture clashing and all these different things.
Yeah, it's interesting because when your parents have a funny first name and a funny last name, it's kind of like, well, what is that? How do you pronounce it? And then, but your parents are kind of different. You're growing up by the beach. It's awesome. You go to the beach every day. It's fun. But your father's an engineer and putting rockets into space and building nuclear reactors and all sorts of things. And so they have this high bar for education. So they sent us to these magnet schools that were in the inner cities. And this was the 80s, and have math, science, computer magnet schools with big mainframes. And you're learning how to program in COBOL and Fortran and BASIC, and kind of sets you up for just understanding the technological world. And as technology grows, there's always a computer in the house. We were always just active. And I'm 49 now, but it's like at that divide where the people that are 52, they didn't grow up with this stuff, right? And so it's that beginning stages of that and always being interested in it. And went to school in Santa Barbara and got married and lived in San Francisco. My wife, she went to Stanford, and that was a lot of fun because it was like the end of the 90s. And so
the first big run out there.
Yeah. And it was wild because you could just go on a Friday and hang out at Stanford, and there would be like seminars. You never know who's going to show up. They'd have beers or whatever, and then some lecture hall, and then in walks like Bill Gates or Jerry Yang, or I remember Mark Andreessen walked in and I'm like, who is this guy? And all he talked about was big, dumb companies, and it was just a fun time to be there. And the whole .com thing was going on in the city. So there was a lot of energy, but it was before it got sterile. So there was a lot of like funkiness and fun stuff, and we'd go out all night. It was just a great time to be there.
For both of you guys, because you don't do what ends up being your career and lives right away. So what were you kind of thinking about coming out of school and what you wanted to do?
I was a finance major. I was destined. I wanted to do finance. That's what I went to Virginia Tech and the business school there. And that's what I thought I was going to do. And then I graduated in the fall semester of 2001. And I remember interviewing at places and I decided I'm not going to go back to New York right then. So I took a job that would have started in the summer in finance in Charlotte, North Carolina. It gave me some time to think about it because I had some time before it started. Instead of doing, finance in Charlotte, I decided to get back to the real estate bug. I had some time and I switched over to a national developer in Virginia. Did that for a couple of years. It was awesome. And there's still that itch for New York City. I realized if I didn't move then, I wouldn't have had the chance. So took the plunge, moved to New York City. And next thing you know, I'm working with this guy.
For sure. And what about you? I mean, as far as the first couple of years pre going head on into real estate?
Well, it was fun because you're living in San Francisco and I got a job teaching math. So I was like done by 3:00 every day. I had summers off, and then at the same time was kind of just figuring out I was probably going to go back and go to law school. And so I was starting to study for the LSAT. And then my wife's father got prostate cancer. And so we dropped everything we were doing in San Francisco and moved to Milwaukee, where she's from. Here in Milwaukee in 2001, September 11th happens, the job market crashes, and I get a job at a law firm clerking for a criminal defense attorney. And this was a guy that like crazy stuff. And I was like, this is not for me. And a family friend owned a business and it was like a training business, training people how to use computers. And mostly it was like real estate agents and salespeople and so forth. And it was basically contact management software and showing them how to use Excel. Because the 50-year-old real estate agent from North Chicago didn't know how to use Excel or PowerPoint or any of that stuff. And I was like, this is easy. I can teach it. And so I did that for a little bit. And then also we bought a couple homes and then renovated those. And just like I got the real estate bug and got my license. And then when we moved to New York, it was either New York, DC or London. And I couldn't work in London. DC is boring. And we're like, hey, let's make a decision to go to New York because that's where her job took us. And she was in consulting. And we moved to New York. We had saved up enough money. And we actually bought an apartment because it was 2003 and it was early. And before the market started ramping up, it was after September 11th and the market wasn't there yet. And then it just started its ramp. And the process was horrible. There was like no tech. There was no nothing. And I'm like, this is New York. This is supposed to be like,
in the center of the world.
Center of the world. Like, how is this just processed so bad? How are these? I couldn't believe it. Coming from San Francisco, coming from West Coast, even Wisconsin had better tech than New York. And so I just figured, hey, I can do this better. And my wife said, you should definitely go get your license. And she was working 100 hours a week, traveling the world and doing consulting. And I didn't have anything else to do. So I just worked 100 hours a week and met this guy. And next thing you know, like, we're here.
20-year partnership. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy. So you guys meet and you decide to become partners.
Yep.
And not like, hey, we're partners, but we each have our own businesses. You guys do it together. You split everything 50-50. Yes. You guys are a true partner. And you're 20 years into this relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it more difficult to be a business partner or married? What's the...
What was my dad's line?
His dad's line said you have two marriages in your life, your business partnership and your...
hopefully only two.
So no, I think it's good. I wouldn't know what to do without either one of them.
So how does this partnership come together?
So we got introduced by a gentleman who's in real estate who was older than both of us. My dad had done a bunch of land deals with him. I bumped into him and he said, hey, I'm working with this other great guy and we're building out a team. And I had no idea what that meant. And he's like, let's come work together. And we did. And we started working together and it was good in the beginning. And we're working together, learning, like hustling in New York. And there was a time where Mark and I were there to build a business and make money. And our other partner was great, but he was swinging for the fences. And he had the ability to, swing for the fences and not worry about the day-to-day of building the business and
building a life. Like we're in our mid-20s in New York, like 2004.
Yeah, and you're trying to build the foundation for
we can't survive just trying for the home run where there's lots of revenue to be made every day. Like, so essentially we spun off from the guy that hired us and said, like, how are we dividing our pot three ways? We can be doing this just the two of us. And we just stuck together. And it was just, we had like one conversation, I think one day. Was it at the office late? I don't even know. It was at the office late. And we just stuck together. And then ever since that day, we grew it. He's like a brother to me, a best friend, business partner. We've just been growing it since.
And why did the decision to split everything evenly? Because I think that's a unique structure in real estate.
I think it's just kind of who we both were brought up to be and who we were, of like, if you're going to trust someone and do it. And then it's like,
Go all in.
And then like, it was funny because we would see right away our competitors someone would be like 60, 40 or 30. If they brought something in, it was like Mark's friend or his wife's friend versus mine. Like, you'd see other people not doing it. But if you really look big picture and you can focus on what you can do better, it's actually great to split it because everyone has their abilities to do things better.
Yeah, and it pushes each other too. Hey, how do you stay? Not
you don't want to let the
each
other
other.
down.
Yeah.
What's the state of the New York real estate market in the mid 2000s? And I know like there was no MLS here, even though that existed in other places. I mean, what was going on at that time?
Well, they had just started sharing like listings between the brokerages.
Yeah.
And
it still was a wild west.
Yeah. Like NewYorkTimes.com had just started a real estate section. So most people would like go to the Sunday Times and like circle ads. And that's how they'd find homes to go buy.
Otherwise, you have to go to a specific broker who's got listings. And if they don't have the listings, you can't see them.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no way to share them like digitally. There are, but it's so wonky. It doesn't even work.
Was that happening in other cities?
Yes and no. Like the MLS was already there, but it was just so wonky. I mean, screens were this big, right?
Yeah.
Like it was, and so the picture like sizes weren't that great. You know, everything was still like almost like a dot matrix kind of thing. And and so you start thinking about like, okay, well, it goes further, and it's at the point where things are starting to happen. People start getting BlackBerries. We used to actually have to call people's front or like desks to make appointments to show an apartment, because you can't just show up and pick up a key, and there's no lock boxes in New York City. There's no tech behind it. You can't even email somebody. They wouldn't even get back to you. And all these older brokers, they used to fax contracts back and forth. Like,
it happened for like 10 years. We'd be like sending an email. Can we show this $5 million place? And nothing.
So we call their desk.
We have to call.
They don't want to use their cell phone. Like
we have a $5 million buyer for your Upper East Side, Madison Avenue.
And it's all these older people that were just, it was a great business for them, but they were kind of gatekeepers, right? And they didn't have cell phones. And if they did, they didn't ever turn them on, or it was 40 cents a minute or whatever. And we didn't care. We had BlackBerries. We were like totally just like, let's go, let's be as efficient as possible. And then kind of like our edge was we could actually present like finance people would, or, you know, do a spreadsheet for someone or do an analysis, take the data, because there was no data. It wasn't even public, you know? So at the end of the day, what it was we just had this edge, and we saw this crack in the market, like, oh, wow, we can be advisors while also brokering deals. But the market starts accelerating in 2005, like it did everywhere in 2006. So we're just like, oh, we just lost that deal for a client. How do we win next time? And learning from our mistakes. And then at the same time, never being super angry at the agents on the other end, or saying, hey, they're just keeping all the commission for themselves. Just saying, hey, look, that's part of the game. Let's figure out how to be nice to them and how to win, right, for our clients, so that next time when something comes up, we're right there.
Right. You guys are thinking really at all times long term.
Yeah.
Long term with the partnership. Yeah. Long term with the relationships.
Relationship with the industry, always, because we realized how tough some of the individuals were and how they were to other people. So we just had to do right by them, even if we had to bite our tongue. We did.
And it was like a relationship thing versus
we
like,
talked it out like we were one of the few people doing it. We talked about it like, all right, that person's being tough. All right, let's just kill them with kindness. And it worked.
Well, New York is also an old school, long term. People own these buildings for years, and
you have to get trust, relationship. It's still that way to this day, and it helps.
You guys are building this business. You're kicking ass. Then all of a sudden, 2008, 2009 happens. So global financial crisis. But you guys not only survive, your business continues to grow. In those years.
That was the fun part, where I think we were just so young in the business and so naive to how bad it could be, even though all of our friends and clients who worked in finance or other companies so affected. I remember being in the Hamptons in 2008, and the phones are ringing for my friends that were having a fun weekend, and they had to get back to the office
and hopefully keep their jobs and whatever
major
else.
Finance space.
Yeah.
But it was also like one of his friends. I remember I'm like, so how bad is this? And he said, well, one of them said, we just don't know if we're going to have capitalism anymore.
Because
like it was
the
like
whole system might break down.
Yeah. Like there's no liquidity anywhere, and the whole system needs the grease to go around.
We knew that. We knew how bad it was. We heard it from friends that were really dialed in, and clients as well. But when it came to us growing the business, generating more revenue, getting by at a bad time. We were like hungrier than ever. So we were taking things that other people might have turned down, like lower price listings that we sold a co-op on the Upper East Side to a magician.
Yeah. He's actually very famous right now.
Yeah. Which by the time we're
He was
like,
on Rogan.
yeah. But like at the time we laughed at it, but like, so what? It was
Just
let's do it and let's just grind and do it. And things weren't selling. We did a ton of rentals and we just grew out of it. So every year our revenue from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 was going up. We looked back on it. We didn't realize it at the time and we weren't tracking it as much during those years. But when 4 or 5 years later, we're like, wow, we did really well, but we just didn't know any better. We're just grinding. Well, it doesn't matter. We didn't make enough that year. We didn't do enough. We haven't sold enough. We don't have enough clients. So we were just like so hungry for success that we just were kind of had blinders on.
Yeah. The other thing, like New York is just one of these places that if you don't keep up with the pace, like you just get left behind.
Yeah, someone's going to eat your lunch.
You're going with the flow, but understanding, hey, look, you have boundaries and you have ethics and you're like, okay, well, this is what our thing is long term to be able to survive in this crazy place because you're trying to get your footings and you're trying to make sure you have that foundation so that you don't ever look back and you're like rudderless.
If you fast forward a bit, so now you guys have survived terrible financial collapse in the US and globally, continue to build your business. And then this Urban Compass company, you guys are President's Club, like you guys are everything you could have asked for.
I mean, we literally had the corner office, like Ackman's 1 floor below, TPG is 2 floors below, like at 888, and George Soros is in the building. We have a view of Central Park on one side, and then we're the corner office, and we can see the ball drop. It's like a Class A building.
Yeah,
like
Vornado's headquarters.
Yeah.
We had everything we needed, but at the same time, we knew that from technology, it's now 2013 when we started on our radar. We had no new technology at our firm unless it's something that Mark would probably say like, hey, let's go outside and buy this. Our firm wasn't giving us anything. And no other firms were. Like no other real estate. Like just you can go to any competition. Like nothing was changing. So we looked at it as like, are they going to actually change residential real estate? That was our question. And we questioned it for a while.
Yeah. And the other part too is like, if you looked at it just from a software perspective, there were all these like third-party software providers, but none of them talked to each other. It was so wonky. You'd have to do all these plugins all the time. It didn't work with mobile. Like nothing was being established like, hey, look, this is a platform that you can kind of run things, your business through. And so no one was thinking about it like a B to B to C business, right? We're running a small business through their business, which is a brokerage, right? And we're independent contractors. We're not employees. And then we're going out to the consumer. Like no one was thinking about it that way.
Yeah, and it certainly was not starting from the beginning and saying, okay, if we're going to build this from the ground up, what does that look like? And then what does that impact have?
Totally. Yeah. Totally. So it's just like institutional and everyone, it's like these fiefdoms of these local firms that just have a great thing going. And even like private equity got the hold of it, like Apollo and how they took Corcoran, bundled it with Sotheby's and Coldwell Banker and whatever, and created Realogy, right? And so our client was the guy who did that whole thing. And you start to learn how all these things are done, and it's just a business, and it's not really providing value.
Right. And they're just trying to squeeze it for as much as they can.
What did he compare us to?
I don't remember.
Yankee Candle.
Yeah.
He's like, it's the same as when we did Yankee Candle. I'm like, I remember looking, I'm like, Candle. But that's another deal they did.
I've had a few of those. I hope they don't give me cancer. But I feel like they might.
I was just like, wow.
And nothing's going to progress. If this is how you're thinking about our business, nothing's going to progress.
Yeah, but we're like, all right, can those guys, we would see it because there's 2 founders and they were flashy. One had sold companies to Google and Facebook. The other was the chief of staff at Goldman Sachs. I'm like, all right, the really successful young tech guys, can they pull this off?
But then what's the beginning stage? Because there was a pivot. They started as Urban Compass, and it's not the company that we know today. No. So was it on your radar too before pre-pivot?
Yeah. So they were really good at PR and getting things out there. And it was probably this, Andy Bernstein was probably and she was close with Michael Bloomberg, and when they opened the office, and there was this big like initiative to bring tech firms to New York. And it was just like this whole moment where you have all these smart people that are like, wow, that's an industry to disrupt. 6% plus title plus all these other ancillary things. That's 10, 12% margin right there, right? Like they're looking at that. They're like, wow, that's an opportunity. And no one's doing anything. So let's just cut all those people out and let's just take it all, right? But they come in and they don't realize how messy it is. It's like these institutional things are stuck here. They've been there for 100 years. And how do you break that? And they try to do it in the rental business first, which is very difficult because it's such
harder.
a fast moving business. And in New York, if you're not owning, you're renting, and it's 60% of the apartments are rentals. So it's like, it's only 40% of the market. So they looked at the addressable market just from a number standpoint, and they miscalculated.
So it starts with, they're basically no realtors.
No.
They're just going to say, hey, we've got salaried employees. They'll take people around.
Yep.
And we can sort of change the game on
specialists.
Yep.
it. Specialists. And that
they're just
doesn't
nice,
work.
bubbly kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably lack knowledge.
Yep.
Maybe even lack some incentive to hustle.
Yep.
And it's not easy to be hitting the streets and finding people places.
Yep.
And
Especially when they wanted to move neighborhoods and through the search and things like that.
So that model just doesn't work.
Yeah.
No.
We knew it.
Yeah.
And a lot of top agents, if you would have looked at it, you said it's a cool idea, but we had met with them by then, told them that wouldn't work, and said, let's keep in touch. And they were smart. They were meeting with other, a few of the top agents in the city and getting the same feedback. And then I realized probably from a revenue perspective that it wasn't going to work.
So the founder, Robert Refkin, what was your first impression of meeting him? Because he's been known as the future mayor of New York. We might need him to do that sooner than later.
I think we could use him now.
Yeah.
Well, first he has to finish a company.
Right.
We have a lot of work to do still.
He's got to finish the mission. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say? He's just like this guy that's like super charismatic.
That's awesome.
And, he had a lot of things that he had overcome his whole life, and in that, everything is a challenge. Everything is a battle, and he just wins. He just knows how to win. And it's through perseverance. And I don't know if I've ever met anybody who runs into a wall, gets knocked down, and gets himself up more than him, because it's everywhere you go, it's a wall in this business. But when you meet him, he's got this spirit, which is just so inspirational. It's like, yeah, that guy, I'll follow him. If he's going to lead and raise all this money, no problem. Let's do it.
Yeah, it was not so much inspirational, just be like, I can be on the ground working alongside of him, not working for him. That's why we kept staying intrigued. And then meeting other partners that they had there, it couldn't be more positive. And he's going on to meet with tens of thousands of agents, to do the same thing.
Yeah, he's really living it.
Yeah.
Like
Meeting after meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And so then how does that progress for you guys? So you're on your radar, you meet with them. It's not really a fit to start, but then the model starts to shift, or they try to shift the model.
Before the model shifted, we had a couple meetings. We had a meeting with the chairman, and he said that they were going to be putting people like us out of business at the time. And we were watching them. And if they would have kept that model actually would have put real estate agents out of business. And he was right at the time. We humbly walked out and laughed or just disagreed. But when they pivoted from that, we realized right away that we need to take this serious.
Yeah,
and if someone says that to you and they have street cred, which
and they had money in back. Yeah, like no one else was raising money in real estate.
I mean, they raised a $40 million round.
Yeah, back in 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then how do things progress from there? Because I think you were like at the President's Club retreat. And
we get to JFK early and it's a flight down to Barbados. And it's like one of these things, they take you away for a week. And
you're like a top, the President's Club's
top
like
25. Yeah, you're like hanging out with all the best agents from Palm Beach, Hamptons, and New York. It's awesome. Like it's a great camaraderie thing. Lots of great friendships from it. And you just get to know and see people, how they do their businesses, what they do. And then there's this level of trust. So when you have to do a deal, you know the person on the other end. You know if you're going to get it or not. You know how to play the game. And so we're there and we get on the plane and I'm sitting next to an agent. And we had just actually met like the week before with Robert. And we go to their office. You see what's doing. They just opened a new office, everything right on Union Square. And then
we were actively meeting with them
to like come, and like negotiating our deal and everything else, right? And then he keeps saying like, you guys are going to want to come soon, whatever. We're like, all right, cool. We'll do it after the trip. We had just had baby number 2, my wife and I, and he had just gotten married.
Yeah.
And so it was a busy time for us. But what happened was I'm on the plane and this agent is sitting next to me, big agent in the city. And he's actually happens to be dating one of the marketing people that was at Urban Compass, you see. And so he sits down. He's like, hey, man, did you hear about this Urban Compass thing? I'm like, no. And he's like, yeah, they just got Leonard Steinberg. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, it's going to be announced right now. And so we get on the plane, and you didn't have Wi-Fi at the time, but they had those seats, those with the phones in front. So I know what Scott's seat is, and I dial it, and I'm like, hey, dude, come back here when you can.
on the plane.
Yeah. And so he comes back, and I'm like, dude.
we might need to pull an emergency on this plane and take it down.
We had text at the time. We texted.
Yeah.
We texted.
It was hilarious. So
It's 14.
Yeah, whatever. It was right there. It was hilarious. So he tells us, and we're like, and he's kind of looking at us like, what do you guys know about this, huh? And he's like nudging us. And I'm like, well, what do you know about it, right?
Like, does he know we're meeting with them?
Yeah. And it was just
dad to us.
Yeah.
And with the plane lands, and everybody's phones go off, like, oh my God, look what happened. Da-da-da.
This is the best part.
And then the head of marketing, the CMO, comes over to me and says, hey, the CEO wants to meet with you when we get to the hotel. I'm like, oh, what's going to happen now, right? Now they definitely know about us, right? Because like he's talking, she's like, did you hear what happened? What do you think? What do you think? And I'm like, and then so we're driving to the place. We go there. I don't even get my bags or room or whatever. I just go to where the CEO is having lunch, and we have a conversation. She's like, so Mark, what do you know about this thing?
We're like, what is it? They said the same thing to all of us. So all these people on the plane, and we'd been meeting with them for a year and a half. One other top agent. This is the top 25 in the whole country. The top 25 out of thousands of agents, the best of the best. And I'm pretty sure only 2 to 3 people on the plane even had understood that Urban Compass was on their radar. And we knew, but
they didn't even know what it was.
And after Leonard Steinberg, who was a legend at that time, and he's gone on to be even more so, highly respected top agent at another firm of the competing of ours. He's just a very reputable top agent.
We had done lots of deals with him, so we kind of knew him really well.
It broke New York City. Essentially, we're signed up to come on, but we had to wait for a few closings. So we were coming, 3 weeks later, a month later? Yeah. We had to be very quiet.
Yeah, and this is how disruption happens, right?
Yeah.
It's like quiet, and then all of a sudden it's loud.
And you got to move fast.
So yeah, from your guys' perspective, in Smartly, was your deal done at that time, or were you?
We were close.
Yeah,
we were close.
But you're probably like, all right, shit, we need some urgency here. Let's get this over the line. We don't want to be late to the party.
But literally, Scott got married. I had my child the second day, and the day right after he got married, and that was the end of April, and this was like late May.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're chaos.
Yeah. We were in the middle of everything, but we got back from that and finalized our start date. So we moved fast, finalized the start date, and came on board like a month later.
What was sort of the final decision of why you actually decided to join?
After one of the last meetings, it was in Union Square headquarters. We went there. They had Leming there, and who just built the Anton supercomputer. We're like, what is he building? What is he doing? And they had all this tech stuff there, and half of it, we look back on it now, was a good sales pitch to get us, because we had to come in later. We'll tell you, we had to come build everything. But we sat there, we walked out, we went to Gotham and in New York, and we sat there and we're going to have dinner. And I asked Mark the question. I said, are you scared to go? And he asked me, and I said, I'm scared not to go. Yeah. I was just actually scared. And he said, I'm the same. We both said that we were scared not to go, because we didn't want to be late. We didn't want to be last. And we knew going early with these type of people that are building something, that's something that we could give, because we'd always be building stuff, but we didn't ever get.
But that was also part of our deal.
Yeah.
Our deal was to be on the strategy committee for the company, with all the executives. So twice a week you meet, talk about which way the company's going, what needs to be built, talk about all the back end things that need to be built, all the tech tools, everything.
True builders. Start from the beginning.
While running our business.
We had 2 jobs, helping Compass grow and helping our business stay afloat in the meantime, and then grow and do really well.
Yeah. And then you guys get equity too. I mean, this is sort of a unique thing for something in your guys' positions where you're independent contractors.
Yep.
And now you're joining something where you're going to have equity, a seat at the table. It's a big step forward.
Upside. Yep.
Yeah. It was a complete different opportunity than anything that have presented ourselves in New York City real estate.
All right. So you get going. What are these first couple weeks like? You walk in, you go from a corner office overlooking Central Park to tech company, which we all kind of know a bit of what that looks like.
Luckily, you've been there.
Yes. Luckily, maybe everybody's wearing their shoes and whatnot, but still, it's a tech company.
We had 5 people. We only got 4 desks. We didn't have enough space for our entire team that we brought over from the Corcoran group. We didn't have enough space.
Standard.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah. But it was exciting.
Yeah. new development was right there. The engineers were right behind them. Like, so anytime anybody needed something, it was all in one room. And so
the head of recruiting was taking our fifth desk.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was recruiting all the engineers.
Yeah. And he had this whole thing about if they were wearing Google Glass, like
in their LinkedIn photo, if they're wearing Google Glass in their LinkedIn photo compared to not. Of like recruiting engineers. I'm like, what's going on? We just came from selling real estate.
Yeah.
You know?
It was funny.
Co-ops, condos.
Yeah. But it's funny because like we have to go on a pitch, on a listing presentation the first week. And we're like, all right, where's your guys' pitch? They're like, what's a pitch? And so there are these two consultants, one from McKinsey, one from Bain or Monitor. And then they both went to like HBS or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
Ivy League educated, amazing consultants.
making our pitch books.
Binding them at 10:30 at night. And everyone's so excited, like watching us, like make a book. We're like, we're going to pitch a $6 million loft in Tribeca. They're like, you're doing what? We're like, yeah, we got a friend's moving. We got to sell his house.
Got to move and grow.
Yeah, let's go.
But these are some of the first listings.
Yeah.
On Compass.
Yeah.
Like they don't have, like Scott would bring in a check from a closing. And go, look, here's a check. And they'd be like, oh, what do you do with this? Like they didn't know how to process a check.
They'd never seen a check.
Like sales checks. Yeah. There's only... But rentals were different, but the sales at that time, I mean, we have notes from Robert of like, we did a sale really fast and it was a couple $1 million sale. And he's like, this is the biggest closing of Compass this month. And we're like, that's not big. We had $100 million of bad or loud firm, but it was just, those are the early days.
Yeah.
It was exciting. We still have that letter to this day. This handwritten note.
In those first couple of weeks, was there ever, or first couple of months, was there ever a time where you were like, you made the wrong decision?
No.
There was,
even though it's
the
chaos,
whole team was
even though it's
we should have always negotiated for more. I definitely thought that of like what we gave. There's always a line of like, oh, other people say they'll do stuff, but we really did it. So there's many times in the beginning where I would say we're going to build this, but we need more, or we wanted more. Or we wanted more to say or more to do. Like a good
business development sales guy.
Yeah.
Oh, so
but it was like
wet my beak.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the other thing too is like the level of people that we were surrounded with, and our team was younger. And so like Scott and I are the old guys in the office now. We were the young guys. Now we're the old guys. And our team is just loving it because they're with all young people. Yeah. They're all smart and with it. They're going out every night. They're having a great time. Who knows what they're doing, right? But at the same time, it's just that energy that's there. There's all these happy hours. There's all these things. And so we're grinding. We're building our business. We're building the company. We're in these crazy presentations. Sometimes you got to show up at 7 a.m. and the whole place has sticky floors from last night's party or whatever. But that was just startup life, and
7 days a week.
Yeah.
And I mean, you guys are lean, as you said, you're leaned in, you're helping build everything.
Yeah.
You're working on listing agreements. You're working on a tech roadmap. I mean, what ends up being some of the hardest things to replicate from a traditional brokerage in those early months?
The listing database was non-existent. And with not having an MLS in New York City, it made it even much harder.
You need search.
Yeah. If we would have launched in another market, it might have been easier. Just in the beginning, it was the nuts and bolts of brokerage. And as soon as they got that, then it was, okay, well, what else can we build? And then that's where it started getting fun.
But it's also, too, it's like the battle for engineering time, right? It's like, okay, we want to build search, but at the same time, they can't process checks. And all of a sudden, 3 months in, instead of having 20 agents or 10, now you have 50 and 2 offices. And then by the time December hits, you have 70.
It was growing fast.
It was growing fast. And you didn't have, okay, well, we need a recruiting platform. We need, what gets placed and what gets value, what doesn't, right? And so especially to the investors and everything else. So we kind of learned that part of it too, which is the business side for raising money for the next round. Oh, we built this, then we built this, then we built the recruiting tool, then we built the recruiting tool for this.
And what's the metric that's going to drive fundraising? Is it listings? Is it number of agents? Is it,
adoption?
Yeah. Versus like, oh, we can't process your check.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. Or even the listing agreement. Like the listing agreement wasn't standardized. So, and it was fully editable. Like, are you kidding me? Like you're going to get sued like left and right.
We had to help them advise they didn't have sales managers, like local, to put out the fires and to help with disputes with other companies, the things that the way business gets done in a healthy manner between firms. So we had
processes.
Yeah. We had to explain the way the brokerage was working. alongside of only a couple other people that had that knowledge over there. And then from there, we started digitizing it.
But also like spend the time to do that. Spend that extra hour that you don't get at home to be in that product meeting to say, no, this is why this is important. These are the steps that this happen. It just doesn't happen through DocuSign, right?
Yeah.
Like, that whole process was very hard because it's also not a sexy thing to build, right? But it's these nuts and bolts that got to be built.
Baseline infrastructure.
Yeah. Which we didn't have. That was the big eye-opening part, is that we didn't have the baseline.
But it's fun to build a valuation tool.
Yeah.
So we built the valuation tool. We're like, hey, we need this to value properties. Let's do this. And all of a sudden, everybody's like, yes, like that's fun. That I can say I built the valuation tool of my next job or my next startup.
Like year 2, we were hitting the ground running and doing fun stuff. Great meetings of like, we take 3 hours out of our day of selling homes in Manhattan and Brooklyn to building these tools. But year 1 was helping build the old school brokerage before the tech.
Yeah.
And I know you guys were also on the main committee that advised on these activities. What do you think ended up being the impact that you guys made on the company that sort of changed the trajectory?
So being in the strategy committee, it was every week in the beginning, then eventually went to every other week. We caught the ear of the right executives to not go down some wrong paths of getting away from the things we needed in brokerage, the things we needed to give the clients to sell or rent homes. So I think, there's a lot of times like we would always reference it, like we can't go back to the day of Urban Compass with neighborhood specialists in the red backpacks. You want us to sell multi-million-dollar homes. We need this. And I can remember sitting in meetings and we're all pushing, Mark and I are pushing. And they said, all right, you need this for, this part of the process. What if we could do this, this, and this? And that's how it started helping. Like we had to be the ones there to stick up for the actual real estate side of the process.
Yeah, to make sure that it is a realtor first company that can actually bring the best realtors in the world.
I think we ought to really explain real estate to everyone in the room, because everyone was very smart, very talented from another background. We had to explain brokerage, residential real estate. And even on more outside of New York, in the beginning it was just New York, but quickly we were in DC and other markets. And Mark and I have colleagues and friends and clients all over, so we understand other markets. So we were able to help with that.
But it was also too, it's like, okay, when you start going against the big boys, like how are you luxury? How are you global? How are you reaching all these people, right? How do you tell the story of tech and how you can do Google ads just to figure out where people are? We said, listen, if we're a tech company, shouldn't we be able to tell a customer we're selling their home where every single IP address is from? Like, why don't you guys create a map, and that map's going to have every place where those web hits have happened, right? And then you can tell the story, send them a weekly report. And in that report, it says, oh yeah, look at this. The mom who lives in Boston has looked at the property 17 times. I think we can push them up another 100,000. Right? Like all of that, you have that data, you have that information, like give it to us so that we can go win and they can tell all their friends about it. Cause we're supposed to be a tech company, guys, not just like,
a differentiated experience.
Yeah. But again, it's that coming back to like a platform where I'm not paying some third party to go do that, to track it, to figure out where it is. And then I'm having to integrate it and put it into a report, and it's not formatting properly and all this like stuff. And so I think getting them to understand these are the tools that we need to function in a digital age. But also too, like, yeah, we should have a button that we can push and make the best show sheet that you ever seen that's paper. And all you guys got to go do instead of waiting 48 hours for these show sheets is buy 40 weight paper. Right? And it looks good.
Time,
and you have
time. Technology for time in the beginning.
With luxury specifically, how do you nail luxury? Because it's not easy. Like, it's not easy to design, brand, ethos. People that want luxury, they know the difference between manufactured luxury and true luxury. So how did you guys nail that?
There's one thing, like, okay, you remember back in the day, like you used to get on a plane, there'd be like a Sky Mall thing, and you'd see that Vertu phone, and you're like, dude, this is the freaking coolest phone ever. Like, look at this. Like, how much does this thing cost? Like $4,000 or. And then now you get on a plane, you're sitting up front, and everybody's got an iPhone, right? And that happened during that period, right? So you kind of had to understand everyone has an iPhone. That is now a luxury item. Like, that's what Apple did. And so if you can marry yourself to that, and that's the future, right? Oh, all the people are on Instagram now. How do we leverage that, right? How do you get the luxury listings out there? And it's not just paper things, which also work, but it's this other experience. So if you could marry yourself to that and show the data, show the numbers, do all those things, it really, really helps out. Yes. And so like, I think that was a big thing.
I think the first couple years we had the benefit of being in the tech boom and being the only technology real estate company. Once we started, scaling and started growing around the country, there was also the rounds of funding. So we had a few years of just being the cool new thing on the block, the new shiny thing. Like everyone asked you, what's the tech as we were building it? So I feel like from a luxury standpoint, we had the benefit of the doubt for a little bit. But before we did the rebrand, that we were hitting a wall. And that's why when they needed to rebrand into Compass. And then to really up, there's a lot of heated meetings of, what the old guard was doing, of where you needed to advertise, like, is print dead? Well, it's not for certain price points. And like, what type of imagery do you need? And what type of like old marketing to get to that luxury? So there was a battle of that as we were growing. But the first few years, I think we had the benefit of the doubt of being the shiny new tech thing that no matter what, they just kept on putting the valuation of the company that more than doubling every 6 months. And
then also too, it was like, okay, well, you want luxury, right? Well, when you go to Art Basel and all the other firms are there, right? And they're spending $300,000 or $400,000 a booth, right? Or whatever it is. How do you differentiate yourself? Well, you have new developments. You do things like that. And so you really have to grow the new development wing because those are some of the shiniest, newest, most amazing things. And you're competing against the old vanguard who's been doing this for years. So how do you begin to put yourself in places? So it was like, okay, well, we got this marketing thing. And our CMO is a guy named Matt Spangler. Awesome guy. You should have him on the pod. And he was the one who insisted you have to change the name from Urban Compass to Compass. Right. And his whole job was to do the rebrand. And he had done the brand over at Tribeca Film. And he's a 6'4" tall guy, like just kind of want to hang out with him. He's always got interesting things to say. He brought over like all his designers from, that world.
That never existed in real estate.
That never existed.
They wouldn't have come to the old guard.
Like who wants to go hang out and like with real estate agents? Yeah. Like just not fun.
And they wouldn't necessarily invest.
There was no TV
anyways.
shows that were decent at the time. I mean, there was like a couple selling this and that, but yeah, they made it exciting because it was tech and real estate.
But then you get those designers and then you get the product people that Ori can bring in, right? And so they purchased a couple companies with your own and, Glenn and whatever. And those guys want to interact with the digital guy. Like the designers, they all want to hang out together and talk and see how they can push this thing further because no one's done it yet. So the second you can do that, you marry it with the iPhone, you marry it with all this. And I remember having this long conversation about how, no, we're never going to do Android right away because it makes no sense because all the luxury users are using iPhone. And when we go to other markets, yeah, sure, fine. And so it's like a really interesting like way to really think about things.
When did the really aggressive expansion happen? I mean, you guys start bringing on a ton of realtors, but then also buying firms. How does that like sort of strategy sort of come to play?
It was when they raised serious extra amounts of money and the funding was getting big. And I remember walking into a room and there was a whiteboard and there was a lot of cities, some that we're not in today. I saw just so many cities throughout the country and they realized that we need to move faster and be more aggressive opening in all the markets.
And the concept was go to the urban center, go to Boston, and then from there, flower out and grab all the major suburbs. Yeah. Right? Because if you get the city, then you'll get the suburbs.
Go to DC.
Go to DC and then you'll get Arlington. And that's kind of how it all worked.
And it'll naturally start to flow to where it should.
Right. And then I remember that one meeting when I think it was Series D and the guy from IVP said, to the agents in San Francisco said, look, I've been on your side and I've been on this side. You want to be on this side. And then you get the big agents come and then all of a sudden, oh, wow, what's going on? The whole city is disrupted. And then you might have 5 to 10% market share, but you're growing faster than anybody else has. And they also came up with this concept, which Scott really helped a lot with and helped train these people, which was these SGMs. So there were these strategic growth managers who...
Yeah. So they had them in every market and they would get there and they would hire typically the top agents in the beginning, if they could. Like in New York, when we were hired, our phone rang off the hook. Like from people we barely knew to people like, what's going on? Why are you going there? How many millions did they give you? Like crazy. Like, why would you leave the best thing you had? And then in these future cities, when a leader would leave, in Dallas, when they got Jonathan Rosen, they got the whole market after that. In other markets, when they got the top agents in San Francisco, they would get the other agents to follow. And then they start with 3 to 5 agents in the beginning. And then within some markets, they would have 100 agents.
So this is somebody who's in a market and really knows kind of how to strategically make it work in that place.
That strategic growth manager, the SGM, was somebody, they have like hundreds of these in all the cities. Basically, this was somebody that was like an independent agent or an independent person that worked for the company to go hire real estate agents. So like a headhunter for real estate agents.
Yeah. They're salesperson, like employees of Compass, to go hire agents.
Yeah.
And at the same time, Robert and Rory Gollett and other executives were going to these cities, taking the meetings and
selling, making it happen.
Exactly.
Yeah. I remember San Diego, like doing the intro for that, and hitting that off. That was
Robert and the executives at all different people at different times, just going and launching cities after city. And like at one point we were doing like one after the other. It was
pretty remarkable. And then when really grew and almost to a point where it's like, oh, wow, we've got some culture issues and so forth, is when the SoftBank money came in, which was just like the next level of like, oh, here's $400 million. Go fast, go big.
Go even faster.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, okay. So now you're buying the biggest brokerage in San Francisco and the Bay Area. Then you got Silicon Valley. Then you got buy a firm down there. And that just continued to happen because all these brokerages really aren't worth that much money. And if you look at it, they're old school businesses, where if you look at their profit margins, they're slim. And so you have this company that comes in and is going to pay you money for it. You probably should take that deal or they're going to put you out of business either, very quickly.
Sooner than later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, now today, so I read 1 in 17 transactions in the US is with a Compass agent. Mm-hmm. And then 20 in the major metros, you guys are 25%.
Yep.
At least. Yeah.
At least. Yeah. Some much more.
Of the market. Pretty tremendous in a relatively short period of time to do this. I mean, has Compass been successful in its mission to disrupt the real estate agency, market, or is it still more of a traditional brokerage with technology? How do you think about
I think Compass has definitely disrupted the real estate industry. I don't think the story is finished. I think having 33,000 agents in the country and being number one, where other top firms have hundreds of thousands of agents, just tells you the math. Compass actually acquired the right men and women in real estate throughout the country in the right markets to get that number one status, but also to be driving the right kind of revenue. The technology is there for the agents and it's growing, and it's the only company that actually is taking millions of dollars that they make in EBITDA and putting it back into the business. Like no one is putting anything in and they're growing, but I don't think the story is done.
Basically built version 2. Version 1 was a branding exercise, right? I'm with Christie's or Sotheby's or whatever, and Brown Harris, whatever. And it's a brand thing, right? Corcoran, like Barbara Corcoran, like created that. But then, okay, well, what's the next step of that? It's like, okay, well, I've got a business to run. These things are getting to be professional businesses. Like the people that are going to be in this business for a long period of time can make a lot of money. But at the same time, it's because they're running the right business and they're running the right process. In order to do that, you got to build a tech stack. And they built the tech stack for us to be able to like run our businesses through it. And so no one else has done that. And so yes, it's done that. But where technology takes us and how much further it goes, that's still part of the mission, I think. And that's the thing about Robert. Like he could have stepped away a long time ago. He decided not to.
Yeah, he's not done. Not finished yet.
No. There's a lot more to accomplish.
Yeah.
When you guys sort of look back, when you made the decision to join Compass, you talked to people in your lives and got advice from different folks. How do you give advice today to someone who's thinking about their own leap into a Compass, into a opportunity that's maybe scary or different or disruptive? How do you sort of look back and think about that?
I look back at it and saying, follow your heart, follow your passion. And if you are going to make a change, knowing that it's going to be a serious extra time commitment, and like understand what that is, but you should be searching for that. And once you find it, make sure you negotiate the right way, thinking you're going to be there for a while. Now people pivot and change, but making sure you understand what you're going to give and making sure where you're going, they understand what you're going to give to them.
It's ultimately a thing about alignment in your life. Like, are you ready for this commitment? Because when you're going all in, you better go like, you better say, okay, I want this. This is the right team. We're all aligned. We're on a mission together. And I'm going to like, I don't say die with these people, but that's essentially what you're doing. You're giving the best years of your life when you're giving that much energy towards a mission. And if you're not in on that, you got to know like, hey, we're early. This is what this is. This isn't like, hey, late innings, big dumb company, Mark Andreessen stuff, where I'm just getting a check every week, 9 to 5. This is it. This is where you're building. Can you be the person that's going to be there for a period of time and be flexible to what the market's going to bring to whatever business you're in?
When you look to the future, what do you think is next for real estate? And how does the agent role kind of evolve over the next 5 to 10 years? Obviously, everyone's talking about AI and technology. It continues to be a conversation about technology. But as you've said, Compass isn't done yet, isn't finished with the mission. Where do you see this going over the next 5 to 10 years?
I mean, you have to say AI, and you have to understand how the individual agent incorporates that into their daily life and to what Compass is going to incorporate into the platform. My outlook is that there's going to be a lot of agents that do better and incorporate that into. I believe there'll probably be a lot less agents at certain levels, in certain markets. But whoever incorporates that into their business, into their daily workflow, and into their practice will succeed even more so.
Yeah, I think it's leaning in further to the advisor thing of like, hey, you're this certain part of the market, right? How the process is done. It's a messy business. You have title people and you have attorneys. It's not as easy to navigate as just putting something into a ChatGPT thing. That said, if the market and the consumer starts to really understand and really take a hold and it goes in a certain direction, who would have known 20 years ago that the property wouldn't be as important as the agent in social media, right? Like you would think the property is more important, but no, it's these personalities that kind of won that little moment. But does that really work for the consumer, right? So what is the consumer going to want? And so that's going to basically determine where the things are going to go in the future.
With New York City, we went through COVID, lockdowns, everything else. Now we're a few years out from that. It seems like the city's busier than ever, certainly more expensive than ever. How do you sort of see New York today, and where are things going over the next few years? And do I ever get a cheaper apartment, or is that impossible? But what's one thing that would change? Because Adams isn't doing much right now.
The only thing I think changes is safety, crime, and the perception of people being safe and how much crime.
So just generally, no matter who's in office.
It doesn't matter who. It doesn't matter. I hate politics, but just safety.
But I see it in my neighborhood. There's there's an encampment outside. And you're like,
outside of that though, ever since COVID, New York has been so surprisingly getting better and better each month, each year.
From a safety and from
just like the cities, more people want to be here. The city is alive. Like try to get into any restaurant in the city on any day. It's packed. They're not building enough supply. The city is fun. We have clients moving here because we get a call from an executive that their son just graduated from business school, and we have clients that we sold 2 brothers homes of north of $10 million that are retired, and they want to have Thanksgivings here. Like the city it just keeps on. It's resilient,
right?
Yeah.
The other thing too is like at the end of the core ethos of this city was for the Native Americans that were here, they were traders. It was like commerce, and then the Dutch were here, and they were all about commerce. It wasn't enough commerce here. They left and the English came in. And again, it was all commerce, right? So it's like commerce is the DNA of this place. It's not like someplace in South Carolina or whatever that was like slave trade or whatever, or Boston, which is all puritanical, right? It's like, this is commerce. So as long as commerce exists in a physical space and we aren't all like living in the matrix on some digital thing, we're gonna be fine. And it's gonna be a fun city because people want to experience this physically. Like you're in a physical city. Everything's in your face all the time, And so that's that. As long as people want that and people can pay for it, it's going to be fine.
All right. So my rent is not going down.
No.
Is that
No. Also too, think about it, right? Like you have all these historic areas, right? Like how are you going to build something in the West Village? You can't.
Right.
You just can't.
Yeah, finite space, finite building.
And there's just too many entrenched things that are like, hey, I want to protect this. Right.
That's the one thing we realized is this for New York City, like Brooklyn has gotten so popular and far out Brooklyn. And there's still people leaving to go to the suburbs of Westchester and Connecticut. But there's just this population of people moving at all different ages. And the city is just resilient that way. It's almost surprising after being here for 2 decades. There's a time after COVID that I thought it would slow down, and it hasn't. And there's always someone else who's excited to be here.
Yeah, his line is it's always someone's time for New York.
It's
like, and it's true. It's always is. You might be 80 and like you want to go to the opera. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, it's been great. We're gonna do lightning rounds.
All right.
I'm gonna whip some questions at you.
Okay.
Just give me what comes to mind. Keep it as tight as possible.
Okay.
Favorite form of transport around the city?
City bike.
City bike. Interesting. Any issues out there? Or you're all right.
Pretty good.
Driving
yourself.
Yeah.
What about parking?
You don't get tickets.
throw the flashers on and let it ride.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I mean,
we do a lot of that. That never happened before COVID. They're getting a little more tickets here and there, but yeah, it's like a dirty secret of driving, which I never did before 2020 much.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And now the congestion pricing and stuff, maybe traffic's down a bit, maybe. Allegedly. Most underrated building in Manhattan?
443 Greenwich. It's in Tribeca.
Why?
Because when we watched it being developed, we thought it was going to be nice condo in the heart of Tribeca. Now it's turned into a fortress. It was done so well. It's in the middle of an area of Tribeca that a little far from the subways, but Uber changed that. And that whole area of like Northwest Tribeca took off. And that was the main reason behind it.
I kind of like the El Dorado. Like you walk in there and you're like, wow.
And what neighborhood is that?
Upper West on Central Park West. And I don't know, just like the lobby and the murals and there's just the hallways are like, then you're walking to the various wings of the elevator, like 20 feet wide, which is gorgeous, you know, and it's also too, it's it's deco. And if you think about one of New York's, that's when New York grew up.
Yeah.
Was our deco periods. I think it's awesome, but I like 299 West 12, I like 302 West 12. There's so many cool buildings around.
Best iconic New York location to close a deal?
220.
Location.
Yeah, it's like somewhere if you're like closing a big deal, you're like, where do you want to be sitting?
Oh, celebrating?
I do it at Pasties, meatpacking, bring people there. It's like our local diner.
I kind of like
the Pasties.
Yeah, I kind of like the cheeseburger at Nougatine.
Yeah,
the bar. It's kind of fun.
Which one's that?
It's at 1 Central Park West.
Okay,
it's just a good place to sit at the bar and have a burger. They're $30, but they're worth it.
I was like, I had Minetta Tavern burger the other day.
It's awesome.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Well, favorite restaurant generally?
I just hit you with Pasties at my local one. I also like Perry Street a lot.
Perry Street.
There's different things for different times, but I like Pana in the East Village. I'm Serbian, so it's a Serbian spot. Great. Best place to watch soccer. World Cup will be there. And my boys love Parm, so we always just go to Parm a lot.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Best book for someone in the real estate industry to read?
Yeah, it's Chris Voss. Never Split the Difference.
Yeah, it's the real estate book with Steve Scholl and Chris Voss.
Yeah.
Cool.
Never Split the Difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Guys, it's been great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you.
You guys are the best.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.